Good evening, everybody. It's Thursday night. I welcome you here to the studio, the just sufficiently air-conditioned Studio A. We're always just skating by. We have very high ceilings. Thankfully, about a year or so after moving into this place, back in 2016 or so, the building agreed to put in a drop ceiling, a cork drop ceiling, that lowered it about 3 feet. There are ceiling fans underneath this drop ceiling that will never be used again. And that increased, not only did it increase the sound quality in this room so much, because it was very boomy and echoey, but it also allowed us to air condition this place. And on weeks like this week and last week, it's just right. I could use it about 10 degrees colder, to be honest. That would be better, but anyway, who cares, right? Tonight is going to be a good one. It is July 10th, 2025. It is a Thursday night, so that means that we're on Badlands Media as well as all of our other places. Right there on our website. You know, D-Live and YouTube and all those other places, but I'm so excited when we have a Thursday night roll around because it means Badlands. And tonight we've got the brains behind the operation, the founder, owner of Badlands. Jon Herold is going to be stopping by. And we're just going to be talking about stuff, especially new media and where it is right now. We've been around for a long time, a while, to watch this new landscape form, but it's constantly shifting. We're talking about a new world, you know, a volcanic mass of new continents that are forming. Nothing is settled, nothing at all. Every time that we think that we're settled, that we have to adjust and do something else. And keep it flowing, keep the lava flowing. Anyhow, that's what we're going to be doing tonight. And I hope that the conversations we have are going to open up a lot of opportunity or a lot of inspiration for people to call in the second half, because this really it's going to affect everybody. How we interact with media, especially new media, where you think we have a foothold in that, and it's not as compartmentalized as it was in the past. Although everybody's in their own little algorithmic echo chamber in one way or another, there's very little bleed over, and you know when it happens. You know when you finally break through to the other side accidentally, because all of a sudden you get a bunch of mentally ill people in your comment section. You said, "Whoa, I'm not used to anybody seeing this stuff." So I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it, because I feel like we're now reaching a point where we have the tools, and now we have to start really consciously rebalancing ourselves, because it's going to get much nastier than it already has. But at least we're going to be going into this next wall of fog with a little bit more to guide us through, and a little bit more to stay in touch with those who, are searching for the same things as we are. So that's what we got going on with Jon Herold tonight, and I'll see what he thinks about one thing or another that's going on in the current events, and diddly-doo, diggly-dee. That's all I have to say about that. All right, one other thing I will just say, I wanted to tip my cap to one of our Badlands sponsors tonight before we get started, but first I want to throw this up there. Take a look. I thought this was interesting. I heard a lot about these workers that have been buried alive in Los Angeles in a tunnel out there. And it's making people say, what? Tunnels? We know there's a lot of tunnels. There's a lot of, just tunnels under the city. There's most of it's not secret or anything else like that. But it does start tapping into, you start seeing the bleed over into different types of theories here, and long-standing questions about what those tunnels are used for, where it connects. I mean, you think about just the things that have been denied at places like the McMartin School and all that other stuff. This is one of the more interesting things, / Easter eggs that was buried in True Detective Season 2. True Detective Season 1 is legendary television. Season 2 kind of falls back, but if you really watch it, there's a lot in there. there's a lot in there about like the new age cults and how it affects people, and just, the change of scenery from that kind of bayou area out in the deep south to over in LA. So you go from something that's a little bit more rural into a scenario that is a lot more urban and upper class and a little bit more eyes wide shut. But yeah, 28 workers buried alive in Dragados Megatunnel. Great way of dispelling all of the reptilian rumors. Dragados. Megatunnel collapsed. A massive shaft opened or operated by Dragados Mining and Boring Company just imploded beneath Wilmington, trapping up to 28 workers underground. This isn't a city pipe job. It's a global tunnel giant with 1,500 plus miles of underground infrastructure across 19 countries. One way in, no one out. And the LAFD's elite rescue units are racing against time. What the hell was Dragados building under Figueroa Street? That's what people are asking. That's being reported by ABC as well as Twitter reporters like Hustle Bitch over here. Anyway, there's a little bit more on that, but we're gonna be keeping tabs on that one. All right. Well, with that being said, I want to just get this one all worked out, and I can't wait to talk to Jon Herold. He'll be in here momentarily. So let's just jump into it, shall we? First, let me thank our sponsor for the first half of tonight's show. And that is, where the hell is it? There we go. My Fireside, proudly American-made fireside pits crafted from 100% heavy-gauge stainless steel for unmatched durability. Fully customizable with interchangeable plates. They're built to last. Unlike competitors' closed-box designs, their fire pits deliver 360 degrees of radiant heat for everyone to enjoy. The marshmallows. As veteran-owned and operated company, a portion of each purchase supports the Semper Fi America's Fund. Get yours today and experience the warmth of freedom. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/fire. badlandsmedia.tv/fire. And let me just tell you, my friends, it's fire pit weather has just started. So go ahead and do it. That's what I would say. Go ahead and do it, because then you're really going to need it in the wintertime when the power goes out completely and we are forced to live underground with all the reptilians. You're going to need to take only a couple things down there with you: a shotgun and your fire pit, some wood. That's all we're going to have left. All right, we'll be right back.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!
That's right, everybody. Welcome to Thursday night. It's Quite Frankly. We are broadcasting live from coast to coast and around the world, wherever the hell you are. You can watch it live, or you can watch it on demand for all time. And one guy I got to really thank for making it so that more people than ever before have been able to introduce themselves to the work that we do here every night. That is Jon Herold, and he's the founder of Badlands Media, a platform dedicated to patriot citizen journalism and uncovering hidden truths in today's complex information landscape. He's also the author of the influential Devolution essays. Now, I want to talk to him a little bit about that tonight, because I have not read all. I think there's like 24 of them. I read only maybe a few at first, and then I have the attention span of a canary, and it just, how it goes there. But either way, continuity of government all that other great stuff, American sovereignty and governance. Welcome to the show, Jon. It's awesome to have you on. And again, thank you for having Quite Frankly on Badlands.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it, and appreciate your work and everything you're doing. I think you're the first show that we've done the syndication experiment with, and it's gone pretty well. So appreciate that.
I feel it's gone well too, because I track metrics pretty carefully and for good reason. Let me get you over here a little bit. Hold on. This is all me. I track metrics pretty carefully because I want to make sure that we're doing something right. And I just had in doing that every day on Fridays and all that stuff, a couple of days after we go live, I have such a great time talking to people in the comments, and it's wonderful just to see that there's still so many millions of people out there that we have to introduce ourselves to. And I think that the main topic of new media and what it's becoming right now is going to be an interesting part of tonight's show. But in the meantime, how's life? How is the Great American Restoration Tour? I can't wait to hear a little bit about that coming right from the horse's mouth, because this is another thing that we need. We need to be meeting more in person.
Yeah, man. Things are good. Life's busy. It's summer. I'm 50% custody of my kids, and so the weeks I have them, it's a lot. But that on top of everything I'm doing with Badlands and multiple shows a week, staying on top of it. The Great American Restoration Tour, man, I can't say enough good things about it. We started it, and it was just that goal to let's meet face to face with people and get that community started to build out a little bit. And it's really gone beyond what I ever could have imagined. We have people doing their own little meetups all over the country. We have 60 plus Badlanders groups. But yeah, we're doing Deadwood here in August, and then down in Florida in November for the Garts. So very much looking forward to that.
Oh, November is going to be a great place. The Florida is going to be a great place to be in November. Just a little bit of a breakaway, but I have not been anywhere near the middle part of the country, the Dakotas. I have to come out there for something, and we'll figure something out. How I don't want to. Are your children old enough to understand what Daddy does?
No, they think I'm a YouTuber, and so they have their concept of what a YouTuber is, and it's funny because they're like, "Can I look up your YouTube channel?" And I'll show them. They're like, "You don't have any followers." Yeah, this is my 6th account, and then trying to go through that conversation of why you get banned, and it doesn't work. My son is 7.5, and my daughter's about 5.5. Okay, yeah, you should come to the Florida Guard. We can get you on a couple panels. That
would be interesting. Oh, let's definitely talk about that, because November would be that actually might be a time I might be coming up for air after all the stuff going on this summer, leading right into the fall. But that would be interesting to talk about. I mean, I might even just appreciate the road trip, to be honest. But let's talk about you're a strong voice in alternative media. Especially when it comes to theorizing about clandestine operations, both those that work against us and the ones that may be there to course correct the United States and nudge the world back to a less entangled state. What do you from that stance? How do you perceive what has happened over the last week, just with the Jeffrey Epstein pronouncement alone? Because that was ridiculous coming from the DOJ. But then the thing that really got a lot of people kind of down was the kind of annoyed wrist slapping that they got from Donald Trump, which made it feel like this is a final decision here. So I don't know. What just bring us through your thoughts on this.
Yeah, we've talked about this quite a bit over the last couple of days on the shows I've been on Badlands. It's obviously a pretty important topic to a lot of people, and my thoughts on it are this. So if you look at how this has unfolded, the narrative around Jeffrey Epstein and what it is, it was never pushed by Trump. And that's what's most interesting to me. The one time he did push it, or there's 2 interview clips from back in 2015. One was at CPAC and one was in the media room after CPAC. Those were within 30 days of Bill Clinton being named on the flight logs.
I remember.
Gawker came out with this huge story about it. And then Trump comes out, at CPAC, he's asked about Bill Clinton, and he drops that. Other than that moment, or those 2 moments, Trump has not been the one to push this narrative ever at all. It's always been in response to questions and all these things. His declassification executive order had nothing to do with Epstein. It had to do with RFK, JFK Jr., and Martin Luther King Jr. All the pushing of the Epstein stuff, the declass for it, came from influencers online, Dan Bongino himself, Kash Patel, Bondi, while she's been in office, she completely bungled the rollout of this, the whole Binder Brigade thing. And so I see this as, the way it was handled and the way it was rug pulled was, in my opinion, an op to kind of split some of the MAGA movement. And it was an op against Trump to do it that way because it wasn't from him. If Trump had been the one pushing it and then rug pulled it, I'd think differently about it. But he didn't. It wasn't his narrative that he pushed. Somebody else pushed it. Other people allowed it to get really big online. And obviously, when we don't get the result that we want from something, it's going to disappoint people. And so I'd put the blame on those people.
I'm with you. I'm with you on a few points there. Starting with Trump, I never really looked at that. I didn't see anything nefarious there. I thought it was a disappointing reaction. He seemed really frustrated that what he wanted to talk about at this press conference was being derailed. But the way that he went about it was, the optics looked terrible. If this was a plan to put a bear trap in front of him, he stepped right in it, and it actually put a blemish on him for a little while. I don't know anybody that was finding ways to rationalize that positively. But yeah.
Okay, can I ask you a question on that point? Because if you go back to when he had the South African in his office and he was asked about the Qatar plane or whatever, right? He's showing the video of South African genocide taking place against white people, and some reporter comes in asking about the Qatari jet, and he responds kind of viciously toward the person, similar to how he did with the Epstein thing. And everybody was like, oh, this is awesome. Look at Trump dunk on the media here. Every time Trump responds the way he did on the Epstein subject towards the media, people are like, yeah, go Trump, all these things. But then this one topic,
it's true.
This one topic, it's like, what's Trump doing here? You know what I mean? Like, why is he responding to the media like this? It's because people have a little soft spot for this one particular topic, but it's really no different than what Trump's done in the past in terms of handling the media. And we've always cheered it along until this one time.
I guess. Well, yeah. But to your point, yeah, it's there is something to be said about the kind of response in certain situations with the media when you're focused on one thing and they try to drag you off to do something else. That makes sense. I think the sensitivity of the issue, there too, because most people who were, as I was talking about with Adel and Zach earlier on this afternoon and a little bit earlier on in the week, I think that a lot of people voted for him for mainly 3 points. They want some economic relief. And of course that also includes deportations, because being able to close up the border and kind of clean out the interior is going to result in even more economic relief, because we're not going to be wasting so much funds. And then you have wars. You want to be able to make peace be the prevailing sentiment around the world, and just get back to being good merchants and allowing people to watch just not have war zones everywhere and all four corners. But then the third thing was, the media was scared about it in 2024. They said he's campaigning on revenge, and we were like, yes, that would be wonderful. So we actually would love a little revenge, for not only for shit that was done to us, but it would be cathartic in a little bit more of a vicarious way to watch him get the people who weaponized the DOJ in order to hamstring him, almost kill him in some cases, and prevent him from ever becoming president again. And you know what? At the center of all of that, John, it's very hard not to consider not the man, Jeffrey Epstein, but the doorway that he represents. That subject is a doorway into a world that really illuminates the government, behind the civic government that is now a zombie body of what is behind it. And I think that is why people are so sensitive about it. I'm pretty positive, but that's what we've been talking about this week. It's retribution, especially legally. That was a big part of 2024.
Yeah, accountability, justice, I think we all want that. But I think my question I'd have for you is, why is and how did Jeffrey Epstein become the doorway to all that stuff? And I know this is like a difficult question, but the more I think about it, and the more I think back to what Kash Patel talked about on Joe Rogan's podcast, when he's like, a lot of people online, they filled the void with a lot of really bad and inaccurate information, full well knowing he was one of those people filling the void, because he was out there even talking about the Epstein list. Like, we have to wonder if if there's some misconception about Jeffrey Epstein and his ties to all the stuff we anticipated Trump getting accountability and justice for in this upcoming administration, because I do see movement with the weaponization of government and all those aspects, especially this week with the Comey Brennan thing. And I think we're going to see kind of a checklist taking place here of investigations into the 2016 stuff that we've been waiting for a long time. But the Epstein angle, Trump is going after child trafficking. He has done more than that than any president I can think of. And it continued throughout the Biden administration. But the Jeffrey Epstein angle of it's just kind of always been there. And this is coming from a guy who I woke up in 2021, and that's when I fully started my research. So when I'm asking these questions, I'm being genuine about it.
I understand. Yeah, I believe you are.
How did it get so big, and like, why is this the doorway to everything else? You know what I mean? How did it happen that way?
It may be because it's just the freshest, the freshest of the big, I don't know, the mole hills that became the mountain. For example, earlier on in the week when I had some friends on the show, and we were going back throughout the decades, whether it be things that happened at Fox Island, or if we just go back about 10, 15, whatever years to Penn State with what was going on there, or Franklin, the Franklin scandal, Finder's cult, all these. It's just every once in a while, a chasm opens up in the earth, or a little breeze comes by, and the curtain flutters that separates the occulted world, the hidden world, from our world. And I think probably he's just the tip of the spear right now. I believe that it's the easiest thing to reference that would pierce the veil and open things up, whereas there's so many other ways to get around there. Of course, it's not. I just think it just might be the most prominent and most contemporary example that people lean on. So I don't think it's the only way. It's the only way to skin the cat, but it is the most. It's the thing that's probably in the forefront of our minds at this point. Yeah,
and with the Epstein stuff too, thinking a lot about it and how it got to be such a big subject and sensitive subject, having not read the Q drops, by the way, and I don't know if you have or not. I'm not sure if you've dug into the drops, but
I wasn't well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, well, anyway, I know that Epstein is featured prominently in the drops, or maybe not prominently. Maybe that's a bad word. I shouldn't talk about things I don't know about. But I know a lot of Q influencers talk about Epstein a lot, and this is another way that they could go after and delegitimize the Q by rug pulling the Epstein thing. You know what I mean? So there's a whole bunch of different angles, and at the end of the day, none of us actually know what the hell is going on, and so it's very well possible that it could have been handed over to somebody else. It could have been possible somebody in there, Maureen Comey or something, deleted evidence. We really don't know what we don't know. And this is where I'm trying to, like, in the way I'm talking about it, I'm trying to just get people to be a little more realistic with their expectations, and like, don't be so confident in knowing how this might play out after the fact, because that is how people blackpill. And that's my concern. I don't want people to blackpill or turn on Trump or any of that stuff when there is a lot of things to be excited about so far with the Trump administration. But there's a couple key issues that I think are definitely falling short. And this transparency and disclosure thing that Trump promised, his administration is certainly falling short on that in a lot of ways. Trump I don't see as the same thing. Like, I'm very comfortable with his transparency. His administration is definitely falling short.
It's funny you said that with the black pill, because I have resisted that at all costs. And in fact, I was talking about this with my wife when this was going on Monday. She said, what happened with this, with the Epstein thing? I said, well, and I gave her the rundown of how ridiculous the 3 points from the DOJ was. There's no list or no associates. There's no partners, no network, no nothing. There's no blackmail, and he killed himself. And I said, it's just incredible. And she goes, well, what does this mean by and large? I said, I'm not taking the black pill. I'll take the clown pill and just laugh. And that's as farthest I will go. I will take the clown pill on this one and just laugh it off, because, like I said, and like you just said perfectly well, who knows what the hell happens? It wasn't a good look on Monday or on Tuesday, whenever the hell that happened at the press conference. It ruffled a lot of feathers. But other than that, if we get tax relief, if we get any good thing that happens for us economically or national security wise or whatever, if we get some strikes instead of some balls or some wild pitches, I'm not going to take them. I'm not the type that's going to throw anything out. Because coming into this, I was just like, hey, this is a complex world, and I don't expect any kind of real. I don't think that anything in Washington D.C. is able to be repaired completely.
Yeah,
I'd like to say, and that's what I want to ask you next.
Yeah, I agree with that. Before we move on to there, can we? I want to make one more, or ask you one more question.
Yeah,
kind of ask the audience one more question, and this is something that I know people are going to have a hard time responding to, but like, is it possible that everything in the DOJ memo, what they said about it, that it's not that he didn't have clients, it's just that they didn't have the evidence to charge any clients. He had a bunch of victims, but they just didn't have any credible evidence to open up any further cases. That's what they said. And they said he also killed himself. Is it possible that those points are true? Like, that's a genuine question I think people need to at least consider. I'm not saying the crimes didn't happen. I'm not saying that this crime generally doesn't happen. I'm not saying Epstein didn't have co-conspirators, but I'm asking, like, is it possible that what they said in that memo is true? Because that's what I'm trying to reconcile with. And I feel like a lot of people, they're not willing to actually consider that because their own confirmation bias won't allow them to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is it possible? Well, if you were talking about possibility and probabilities, it's possible. Yeah. Just like, for example, when people were going after this Augustus guy for cloud seeding in Texas on July 2nd, before trillions of gallons of water come rushing through and have taken now confirmed about 120 lives, the question was, is it possible that the cloud seeding contributed to it, triggered it, or really didn't do anything at all? The issue is that it happened, people have perception, and there's really no way to tell. When we have this comedy of errors around the preservation of Jeffrey Epstein's life in custody in New York, that leads to his removal of his chess piece from the board. He is now officially dead. How he got that way, nobody can prove it, because we had the sleepy Mexican prison guard. We had the cameras go off. It's just like people hear that and they're like, give me a damn break. And is it possible? Sure. But we just get down to probabilities. And I think that's where people's hang up is. It is possible. But yeah, it's just, I think that's what it is.
I think people are just so much more willing to like lean towards the possibility that feeds their confirmation bias than they are to lean towards the one that they won't even go 50-50. You know what I mean? Because based on like the evidence that we got from, if you even want to call it evidence, there's no way you could tell on that videotape whether or not somebody did go in there and kill him.
Right.
You look at the circumstances. Some people want to say he's in WITSEC now. Maybe. Some people, to me, it's based on the evidence we have. And this is why I was joking earlier this week. It's like, it's Schrodinger's list. It's Schrodinger's evidence, because we didn't really get evidence, but they're calling it evidence. And based on the evidence we have, it's impossible for us to determine one way or the other. And that's why I'm just trying not to get like too hung up on it. And I'm a pretty level-headed guy. I don't get emotional one way or the other, but especially when it comes to this stuff, because there's so much news, and we've been like bent over the barrel repeatedly over the years. Every time we think something's going to go our way, I've fallen victim to this myself, and I've just learned to not let myself get too emotional, too high or too low, because you're always, the rug is for everybody. The rug spares no one. And so the only way to avoid the rug pull is to stand off it.
So how was because your Devolution essays were all about continuity of government and theories about military baton passing and all of that. And I'm not a scholar on any of it, but standing where we are right now, going through the last, you said about 2021 is when light bulbs really started going off for you. So let's just take the last 5 years. And when you started writing all that down, how has your theories, your outlooks, and your expectations changed If you can talk to yourself at the time, if you can go and meet with yourself at the time you start penning those first essays on devolution, what would you say? What would you say now? Do you think, is there anything that you would change in your approach or in your initial theorizing?
No, I haven't touched anything in the original series. I've left it all the same. And even going back through it, I do 2 shows a week on it. I usually read through the articles over the course of like a month or two. I'll usually at least go through all the articles at least once. There's really not much in there that I'm like not happy with, or maybe some of my own, like how I word things. Like I wasn't a very good writer at the beginning of the series. I got better towards the end. But in terms of like the analysis and the pieces of circumstantial evidence, I wouldn't change a thing. Now, my conclusions, like projecting how things might play out in the future at the time of writing, I would definitely go back and tell myself not to do that as much, because I was convinced after like figuring out what Trump had done, or I found all this stuff. The conclusion I drew from that is Trump implemented some sort of continuity of government. You'll never convince me he didn't do it. You'll never be able to prove he did it either. That's the downside, is because I doubt they're ever going to reveal it. I also know there's no like piece of paper evidence out there that we're going to get our hands on that's going to be like, yep, he did do this. So it is what it is. But I was basing like future conclusions. Like there's no way Trump's going to not come back before the midterms. Like he's going to let them steal another election and allow Congress to get more seats. Like that is the one thing that I wish I wish I wouldn't have been so confident in, because my confidence in the analysis allowed me to get overconfident in future projections. And I've learned my lesson from that for sure. But that was like an attack point. Even last night I was playing around on Grok, the new Grok 4 thing, and like I like to quiz the AI about the Devolution series, because I can always get them to admit that yeah, it's definitely possible that he implemented this. And one of the rebuttals they always start with is like, based on the predictions of him coming back before the midterms and all these things. It's like, okay, well, that was the writer, not the analysis, But other than that, no, there's really not much I would change. I'm fully of the belief that Trump implemented some sort of continuity of government plan while leaving office. I don't know if they call it devolution. That's what I call it. But there's too many data points to look to ignore. It's like it's almost impossible to ignore, in my opinion.
Okay,
but I could be wrong.
Well, for people who have never read it and they're here and they just got the gist of it, what is the easiest way, or one of the prime examples that you would point to show that in some way Trump preserved some sort of a friendly pro-American power structure within the military during the Biden years, for example? Like, what was the telltale sign of, oh, this is an infrastructure or an apparatus that was left behind by Trump that was going to be, I don't know how you would say it, but how would you paint that picture for people to kind of give an example of what you've written about?
Yeah. So when you look at what continuity government is, and in the context of how it was created and everything, nukes and everything, if a nuke were to take out our leadership, then other people would kind of pick up the baton and carry out the leadership roles. But the primary functions of a continuity government plan is to protect the national essential functions, and there's 8 of them. And on December 7th of 2020, Trump implemented he issued Executive Order 13961, and that executive order created a committee which was tasked with carrying out a continuity government plan, executing and carrying out a continuity government plan. And so those are like the primary things. That executive order reorganized and reprioritized those national essential functions. And so my understanding of how I at least believe things played out is he created this continuity government team. We don't know who's on it. We don't even know who was in charge, but Trump essentially devolved his authority to some members of that group to protecting certain national essential functions. It could have been just as simple as, hey, don't let anybody like bomb the United States. It could have been just taking over the nuclear football, all these things. But I like to look at Trump's comments, and like he had a recent speech here. The Biden administration wanted to close down and shut down Space Force. And there was that instance very early on in Biden's administration when Jen Psaki was out there on the TV and like, hey, have you talked to Space Force yet? No, we're going to look at that. We haven't even talked to them. And like they were joking about it. But Trump said that the military wouldn't let them shut down Space Force. And that's just an interesting thing to say. Like why would the military be able to override the commander in chief and them wanting to shut it down. Now, I went and looked, and I haven't found any stories of the Biden administration trying to do that, but that's an interesting one from recently. You could go back and look at, isn't it weird that Biden campaigned on getting us back into the Iran nuclear deal? And there's a meeting he was having with Iran leadership. And while that was happening, our military was bombing Iranian-backed militias. Like, there's just weird contradictions throughout. The Ukraine war situation, this is more speculative than anything, but it's weird to me that if Biden was in control and these regime actors, how desperately they wanted us to go to war with Russia, how come our military never actually got directly involved in that conflict? We're sending weapons. The State Department is sending weapons. The military's sending, what are they called? There's a certain type of missile that they sent there that our cybercom had, they tweaked. They wouldn't allow the missiles to be shot into Russia. Like, it's just weird shit like that you add enough of these with the mountain of evidence that there was from Trump walking out the door, that it's like, okay, well, yeah, the conclusion here is there were some guardrails put in place, even though we may not never know fully what it is.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, and if it did come to our aid, then thank God for it. But again, this is one of those things that I think that has really allowed us to put a nice foundation of healthy skepticism and also creative thought. All that stuff has come together to lay down the foundation for new media, because there's a lot of open sources that we can go to. There are, if you know how to go out there and do your guest booking, you can get people who have had all types of military and engineering experiences. We can and have completely sidestep mainstream media to analyze and relitigate world events and not have to just take all the shit that was being stuffed down our throats by the networks and then just, in the privacy of our own homes, have debates on whether or not we believe it and to what degree. But here's where I would like to pivot from here. I saw this thread, a post by Orrin McIntyre, and I thought this would be perfect for you and I to talk about in tonight's show. And it's this. Especially since you were talking about some regrets you have in projecting events. And I feel like that is something that everybody had to do to feed the flame of what we were becoming as a new media landscape, where around 2016, 17, 18, 19, everybody was abandoning watching television for one reason or another, unless there was a gigantic a State of the Union or something. But listen to this and stop me along the way. Whenever you hear something you want to comment on, let me get you up on the screen with me. I think this is tremendously insightful. And since you are at the forefront of a new media operation, let's talk about it. Orrin says the following: the right is facing a serious problem about how to handle its intellectuals. The left has the university, where it can assign smart people good-paying, high-status jobs where they can explore and cultivate ideas. The right has no similar institutions. No right-wing intellectuals end up in think tanks or content production. This creates the public intellectual who comes onto the scene with a burst of insight. Content production is a grind. Even if you're saying intelligent things, eventually the need to say something about everything leaves you a very little time to think deeply about anything. I just want to stop there for a second to parse that up. I was talking about that with Adel and Zach just a few hours ago on Taking It Back on Badlands, and I was saying this is so important, and people need to know that this is happening on only a creator level, but also on an audience member level. And does that strike you with anything at first? Did that grind of having to say something about everything and it leaving little time in between to think deeply?
I try not to operate that way. Like, it's become harder when I do a daily show now, every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. But my thing is like, I'm not just going to come on to talk. If my show only goes 35 minutes, because that's all I have, that's all I'll do, and then I'll never go over an hour. But I've definitely been there before, where it's like it feels like a grind. And whenever I get to that point where I feel like I need to say something just to say something, I put the phone away and I take a break. Like, I will go stretches of time on Twitter or where I don't say a word. Like I won't post anything. I do that all the time. Like if I feel like I don't have anything productive to say, I don't say it. But you can definitely recognize when there's people out there, especially the ones who are trying to like make money on Twitter,
Oh yeah,
just constantly post bullshit.
awful.
Those people exist. Happens all the time.
Oh, you can tell. You can tell. Name this band. I don't know.
Yep.
Or what did I say before? I was talking about it. Oh, I'm just going to leave this here. I love those posts.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of that going on, and I interact with it less and less. But I don't know. It's true, and I have more on this in the second half that I'm going to throw out there after we depart, and I just start taking calls. But here's a little bit more of this.
Well, even what you said there, like, what do you think of this? There's a lot of people who post stuff that they think is correlated to a certain topic that they consider themselves experts in, and they'll just post it. They won't actually put any analysis forth. They won't actually tell you what they're even trying to say. They'll just be like, probably a coincidence, right? And they'll just post it. Like, what are you exactly trying to explain to us here with this post? And then everybody like, jumps in the comments and is like, oh yeah, totally, like all these things. None of them actually know what they're saying. They're just posting something they think is relevant when they actually have no idea. And that's the stuff that drives me nuts too.
It's a vague way of virtue signaling. And signaling into a deeper knowledge of something. This happens a lot in TikTok, where I see a lot of TikTok videos, the reaction videos. Somebody else there'll be some small video of somebody going through, a verse or a chapter of some kind of an old book, or there's a theory that's being put forth or whatever the hell else. And then there's somebody in front of it going, listen. Yeah. Hold on, listen. I know all this, but they're saying, since they're talking, I'm just going to instruct you on how to hear it. I can't, dude. There's so much out there that just gets me pissed off. It's, but I don't know.
I wish that social media stuff like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, I wish none of that was monetized, if I'm being totally honest, because it's created. I understand why they do it, and I understand there's, it's capitalist system. People are going to do what they're going to do. But it's created is degradation, is that the right word, of information? Degrading? Yeah. Degradation is how you say that? Yeah, it's definitely degraded the level of like intellect and the quality of information that people put online, because they're just trying to meet quotas to churn out money instead of actually just like putting any form of critical thinking into what they're posting.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's if it's a post like this one right here, for example, this one that I'm reading right now, this is coming from somebody's mind, and they're analyzing something and asking a question that really is engagement worthy, and it's honest. If this gets retweeted, God knows how many times, and it makes a bunch of money, I mean, everything that adds impressions to this should go to the author, no doubt about it. But everything else, nothing. People who retweet and just attach a caption onto it because they have a following. It's no. So I think there are ways to do it to reward people who are good at writing and good at engaging with people. But everything else is really just, it's nuts, the clickbait operations that are out there. Okay, here's a little bit more. Academics are also not really equipped to be public figures. They are not built to do battle with a hostile public on a regular basis. I think this is a lot of what has happened with guys like Jordan Peterson. He should be given the time to reflect on an issue and put out something every few months. Instead, the content churn and social media battles make it difficult for him to say anything new or interesting. With no time to reflect on and cultivate new ideas, the public intellectual has less and less to say and more demand for saying something. Not trying to make Peterson a victim here, but the right needs a better plan to cultivate its serious thinkers. Throwing them into the content mill is not a sustainable plan. I thought this would be great for us to comment on a little bit, because it really is at the crux of our side of new media. And, because we got a lot of ground to make up. We have no institutional support. We have, obviously, there's no backbone of television networks that are parroting what we're saying, that we're just kind of like adjuncts of the TV. We're all on our own. And in that respect, the pressure is on to give people something that is stimulating.
Yeah. So a couple things there. First of all, what you're saying, like no structural support, institutional support, that part is probably the most frustrating to me, is we don't get an even playing field. So when you talk about an information war, it's the most lopsided playing field that you could possibly imagine. Everybody, going back to, when we first came online, or I first came online, I don't even know how long you've been doing it, but I know it's been a lot longer than me. But when I first came on in 2021, starting with an existing Twitter account and just posted one of my articles, and I got banned off of there. I was banned off of there for 3 years. We're on our fifth or sixth YouTube account. We can't get anywhere on TikTok, and our Instagram, we finally got one going. It took us like 4 or 5 attempts. We finally have an Instagram account, and within the first week, we had, I think it was our 4th or 5th video. It got 1 million views. We're like, holy shit! Like we finally got unleashed over here. Since then, I don't think we've had a single video get over 2,000 views, and we've been capped at like 9,300 followers on Instagram ever since, and that's been months. Like we got 9,300 followers in a week, and we haven't gotten to 9,400 yet. Whatever number we're on, it's insane. It's the institutions that are keeping us suppressed, and this is one of the frustrations I have with the Trump administration right now. Is Trump signed that executive order about free speech? Well, guess what? We haven't actually seen a lick of anything change in terms of our suppression online. None of that's changed. And Trump, when you talk about new media at the White House, that wasn't really Trump's idea. That was Carolyn Levitz. She comes out with this big, we're going to get new media. We're going to change the landscape of the White House press room. And guess what? You're getting fucking Tim Pool in there and DC Drano, like these douchebags. That's not new media. None of us are getting an actual opportunity to get our foot in the door there. So that's number one. And then the second thing, this will be a lot quicker, is
no, take your time. By the way, you do not rush with anything. Just get your thoughts out. It's all right.
Yeah, I'll say nobody is equipped to deal with a hostile public online. I'll tell you that is I wouldn't say it's an acquired taste. Maybe it is like an acquired taste for punishment. I get more shit online than you guys would probably imagine, and I'm sure you do too, Frank. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Like I have an entire corner of the Q movement that has completely blacklisted me because of lies. I had a friend of mine who I made when I first came on the scene. I DM'd him this was 2-3 weeks ago. I DM'd him like, hey man, is there something going on? Like you've been kind of cold to me or whatever recently. And like, has something changed your perception of me or Badlands? And he responds with this long, quote, text of all these just bullshit things, none of which were true. None of it, just people smearing me behind the scenes, using lies, whatever. And I was like, dude, you realize none of that shit. Why didn't you say anything? And I sent him a picture debunking one of his points, completely irrefutably disproving one of his points. And he blocked me, wouldn't even accept my side of the story. It's just insane like that. People online lose their mind. And the one thing I keep coming back to is it's none of it's real. Everybody online, these online personalities are not real. But people are just vicious, and I don't think there's any way to properly prepare for that. So the one part of that post where he says, how do you prepare right-wing intellectuals for online hatred? Nobody can prepare you for that. It's just there. It's always going to be there. That's just people. That's humanity. There's nothing that can prepare you for that.
Yeah. You don't see that kind of circular firing squad mentality on the left too much. Every once in a while, they run into each other. I mean, they start whenever. It's funny because the domino effect really happens with them because all of their logic is so contradictory that every once in a while there will be just a chaos because somebody said something that they don't want to realize it offends 5 other people, and theology over there and orthodoxy is always changing. But on our end, it's true. Couple things you said. Number one. Institutions. I can't tell you how much Rumble is disappointing me lately, first of all. I mean, you guys are in such a great position. You're self-sustaining at this point, especially on Rumble with Badlands, because you're able to generate so much attention just by the crowd you've been able to gather over there. I have to imagine that's your strongest platform on the internet right now. But at any point in the day when I go on Rumble, and that front page is jammed up with Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and Russell Brand. People who don't, you know what? I don't have anything against them. They just don't need any help. They don't need any, whatever. 100%. They don't need any help. And they really have drab shows. It's just, that's the one thing there too. The second that we get a little bit of institutional, saw a little bit of momentum, I'd like to see the magnifying glass be put on other shit and And then we have the mass delusion that we were talking about, this event that's happening on the internet. It's not all the same delusion, of course. People are losing it, but they're losing it in their own little way. Some people are losing it. They think that they're finding it. It wasn't too long ago, people could get something wrong or just have an honest disagreement on something without being accused of working for a secret organization or carrying water for Satan himself. People fail to see how really religious they get about things, and maybe that's a coping mechanism in and of itself, because it's a real hard task right there, trusting someone else's plan when it hasn't worked out just yet. And I thought that was pretty interesting how you've been disowned by Q people. And it's usually people who are doing disowning because you get too close to Q groups. And it's just crazy how we've got so many more landmines that we can walk on than anybody on the left does. It's true.
It's okay. Two things. First of all, the thing you said about Rumble, like I've gotten to know Chris Pavlovsky personally. Like we'll chat now and then, and I have not been shy telling him about like how I feel about people like Tim Pool and the people they feature, and trying to get a foot in like ahead of them on the featured page is impossible. I've tried so many times, they won't budge. Their back end team is helpful, like with resolving issues and stuff like that. But you're absolutely right. Rumble itself controls, their feature page, and some aspects of it they allow it to be algorithm, but some of it is like who they want to promote.
Deals,
and it's frustrating. Like we this is you'll maybe find this funny. They have the raid feature on Rumble.
Yeah.
Well, they have this thing where they were doing, and I don't even know if they ended up implementing this or if it's still ongoing, but they had this thing where, in the morning it was going to be Dan Bongino, and he was going to raid Tim Pool, and he was going to raid Stephen Douchebag Crowder, and then he was going to raid, the Quartering, and they were going to go on and on and on all the way down the line. And it was going to, at the end of the day, there was a Tim Pool show, and I was talking to Chris, and he said, "Hey man, how would you feel about us like having Tim Pool raid your show at the end of the day?" I was like, that'd be really cool, but I just want you to know that most of the people on Badlands do not like Tim Pool. They think he's a faggot. They think this guy self-censored himself and wouldn't let people talk about election fraud just to stay on YouTube so he can make millions of dollars. Like, that is not a free speech person. That is a bought and paid for regime tool. And the dude's the stupid beanie thing. Wearing a beanie for your interview with President Trump was retarded. Just saying it. But anyway, and I told him this, and I was like, so I'm just gonna be honest with you. We'd appreciate the help, but I'm not gonna self-censor any of my people, and it is very possible that he could raid us, and everybody there is gonna talk shit about Tim Pool. And I don't think we ever got that feature. Like, Tim Pool has never rated one of our Badlands shows, and I don't know if it's because of that or if they just ended up not doing the thing. But yeah, that is definitely frustrating how they do things there. But yeah, the second thing, the Q thing, there was when I first came on the scene, I was like on an island, right? Like the writing the Devolution stuff, I had very little people. Even in my personal life, there weren't many people who, let alone like not just not knew what I was doing, but or writing about or talking about online, but they wouldn't have felt the same way anyway. And so I was very like alone, and I almost got like brought in by a lot of Q people, and it was very quickly that I learned like how many egos there were involved there. And it's crazy that like people I used to consider friends, like when I first came on the scene, like people I would talk to all the time for months, they have been the people that have attacked me more than anybody else over the last like 3 years.
What are the criticisms?
Oh no, it's like bullshit. Like, I got accused of being Mossad, get accused of being owned by the CCP, taking money from China, because one of our sponsors, who we didn't even get money from, they got their generators from China. It's an Arizona dude, Arizona family, born and raised there. Like, he doesn't manufacture his stuff in Arizona yet. There's an article you could go find where he had petitioned the Arizona City Council that he was living in to allow him to build a manufacturing plant so he could domestically fabricate all of his stuff. And the city wouldn't allow him to. And he was going to be a sponsor of ours, and we did a bunch of ads for him. And then this whole thing, like, people freaked out. And so principal's like, yeah, we can't take money from him because of this, even though none of it was true. And I knew it wasn't true, but just bullshit like that. And then now we're blacklisted, and it's a lot of behind the scenes bullshit stuff. People who just don't want Badlands to succeed. And I don't know if it's because we built something that they couldn't do themselves, or if it's jealous, I don't know what it is, but that's the most frustrating part for me is like that example I said earlier of that friend who somebody I met like within the first week or two of being, out there online. It was before I was even on Telegram and stuff. This guy I've known for a long time had blocked me because of bullshit information he heard, like totally fabricated stuff. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, because we don't align enough with Q, or we don't like trust the decodes enough, we don't follow the decodes enough at Badlands. We're willing to like criticize or question, like, hey, this doesn't really make sense. Or, hey, use the same decode for something completely different a year ago, and then the year before that, like, what's going on here? We get called anti-Q, and then we're blacklisted. Even though I think every single person on Badlands is like, yeah, Q's legit. It was a pro-Trump, like Trump was clearly aware of it. It clearly woke up a lot of people. This is clearly, I wrote a whole article on it, my part 23. Yet it's ridiculous.
So I guess I'm just so far on the outside of all of it. I don't know. It was exciting to watch everybody get excited for a while, but I never got this deep into it to have ever been accused of or cast out of one group or another, or disowned because I'm not all in or all out of something. I don't know. But again, here we go. These are the untold stories of different corners of the new media. But let me ask you this now, and this is one of the things that we could end on. What would you say it is that over where we are right now, what are most people, with your gauge on the audience, what are people looking for more these days? Do you find that it's still news mainly? Obviously, people never want to be completely disconnected, but like you said, it's not real life on the internet. The news cycle is very, very toxic. Nobody wants to be totally unknowing about what's generally happening, but I'm seeing a lot of people drift back to history, storytelling, paranormal, theological debates are insanely popular right now. I know you guys feature a lot of stuff that's outside of news. I'd be one of them, but what are you seeing from your vantage point of where it's all heading, what audiences want?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's kind of why we have such a broad variety of different. We have a book club on Badlands. We have Breaking History, going back through historical stuff. People are certainly trying to break away from your day-to-day, just like news, doom and gloom. But we have that too, though, because some people do want that. But I would say the number one thing that people are desperate for is relationships with like-minded people. Like that is something that over the past 4 years, from COVID to all the BS of the Biden administration, and people losing, like their family would shun them because they were Trump supporters and voted for Trump. Like I hear so many stories about that. And so it's just the relationships with people that are of like mind. And that's one of the things, in my Devolution series, I talk about this concept called the Devolution sandwich, because I've never been like a fully, you just got to trust the plan. Everybody's going to take care of it for us. I've always believed that nothing would resolve itself unless we do it ourselves. Like we are the most important aspect of any, like there would be no chance of fixing our country if we don't get activated ourselves, right? And that starts at the local level. And so I've really, been happy and prideful about the Badlanders groups that we created at Badlands. If you go to badlandsmedia.groups, you can go and there's probably a group in every single one of your people watching. There's probably a group in their area. We have like a person in charge locally. They put together once a month meetings where people will either meet on Zoom or come, go to a bar and just hang out and chat. And there's nothing more refreshing than being in a room of people that you all know are like on the same page politically, even if you disagree on certain points, but none of them there hate you because of your political beliefs. And that's why we do these GARTs. I go to some of those meetups. I was just at a Florida one. In Lakeland, Florida, we had like 150 people there or something. It was just, it's crazy how many people are looking for that, the relationship building.
And the Plymouth one just wrapped a few weeks ago, no?
The Plymouth one, that was an actual GART. That was, God, was that March?
No
that
way.
March.
That was March?
Yeah.
No, I know, because I was plugging it, and I only started with you guys in April, no?
Or no, it would have been May.
It
would have been May, and then we have August is Deadwood. That's our GART. But there's a difference between the GARTs. Like, so the GARTs are like a conference style. Like, all of the Badlands hosts who can make it anyway will come. We'll get on stage. We'll do some panels. At this upcoming GART, we're actually going to feature Brad Zerbo's 9/11 documentary. And then there's also like social stuff, and those are big. Those are, anywhere from 200 to 400 people that'll come to those things. But then the Badlanders meetups, those, we don't plan those. Those are planned by individuals. Sometimes we'll have people attend, but those are put on by individuals who are just looking for that community aspect. And that's what's been really cool to see, is that take on a life of its own. People wanting to build their own little local community. And yeah, like I said, 60 some Badlanders groups all over the country. I'm pretty sure every state except maybe a couple have at least one. It's really cool to see.
That is awesome. And I know Deadwood is coming up on from the 14th to 17th in August. Yeah. And then, Quite Frankly is doing its first in-person event in September over here on September 5th and 6th. I wish I had the budget you guys did to fly people in. I'd call all my friends from all over the country to get onto a plane, but I'm just calling people up to see if they're going to be, hey, do you have me in the area? I don't want you to travel 1,000, 3,000 miles just because I want to hang out with you, but still. Anyway, that's wonderful, man, because I'll tell you, there's one thing that people have really got to look out for, and when they start living headline to headline, where, hey, it's been a good week, or it's been a bad week, therefore I'm doing good or I'm doing bad, because you're living by the Telegram feed, you're living by the X feed and all that stuff. You can't have the bloom come off the rose on life just because the headlines changed, because we don't even have a 6-hour cycle anymore. It's just constantly. I mean, constantly. I mean, when you get off and when I come back from break, the first thing I'm gonna laugh at for a second is this Alan Dershowitz thing. You think about where we went with the DOJ thing on Sunday, and then we get sloshed to the other side of the bottle with Trump on Tuesday. That's it. The story's over. And now Alan Dershowitz today. Oh, hand to God, I know the names. I've read the files. It's like, so.
Dude, Alan, you're like old as balls, dude. You're gonna die soon anyway. Just tell us then if that's true.
Tell us. Yeah, I know. It'd make our day at this point. But anyway,
he's kind of an attention whore, though. So I don't know if I trust him.
I know.
I don't trust anybody, though. So.
I have to have Jason Burmis. He had a little bit of an issue with Alan Dershowitz. Dershowitz kind of just stormed off of a podcast, and I have to tell him. I have to get him on to retell that story again, because it's incredible. He is sticking his snout into this one. But Jon Herold. Thank you for spending the first hour of tonight's show with me. It's really an honor to share Thursday night, my work on Thursday nights with you and your wonderful network over here. I've had a lot of fun. Is there anything you want to leave people? Any parting shots? Anything else?
Yeah. So tonight at 10:30, because G Money is out of town for a few weeks, I'm sure you guys will be happy about that. We're going to do Only Lands, which is like our group show. Anybody who wants to come on can. Frank, you're invited to join. And it's also Friday night. It's like our Liberty Den. We have no agenda, no topics. Whoever wants to come on, we just shoot the shit for a couple hours, and it's usually a really good time. So that's at 10:30 tonight instead of G Money's Rug Pull Radio. So
there you have it, everybody. Jon Herold. I hope we can do this again, my friend, and thanks again for everything. We'll talk soon.
Yep. Thanks, Frank.
All right. There he goes, everybody. So, hey, let's get this show on the road for the second half, that is. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, your calls and some other fun stuff. I have another thread that I want to attach on to that Orrin McIntyre thing, because I think that it should open up the opportunity for some really great calls. You guys have to feel it. And there's a lot more to be said on my end for that too. All right, we'll be right back.
All right, you alien assholes. In the words of my generation, up yours!
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that Grok 4 came out. I saw this one. I don't know what's going on. I don't have the full story. So if anybody has the full story, please call in 914-200-0269. 914-200-0269. What is the full story? Did Grok 3 go full on pro-Nazi? Almost like the old, what was it, Tay? The old Tay chatbot on Twitter that started becoming a Nazi sympathizer as well. Was it Grok 3 or was it Grok 4 immediately went for Nazis? You know what's crazy? Every once in a while, because I've been every once in a while over the last couple of weeks, I've watched a few extra debates, Andrew Wilson debates, and you know how it took me until like last month to put two and two together that he and Rachel Wilson were married. I contacted Rachel. I was like, I'm slow like this. I did not even make a connection between you and Andrew. But anyway, Rachel's working on a new book. I can't wait to have her back on. But that's pretty cool. So anyway, now whenever I watch an Andrew Wilson debate, or at any time that he lays waste to one of these thoughts on that whatever podcast, I have a new appreciation for the whole thing. But in watching one of those things where he's sitting there in a round table of like OnlyFans girls and stuff, I realized just how little I help this show with the language we use. And it sucks because I tend not to care, and I'll say things like Nazi. Apparently, if you say it, the two syllables that I just said a couple of times already, that is almost like putting cement shoes on your episode and dropping the episode into the East River. I was watching one debate. Not only is the N-word, obviously the N-word is like, no, but then the C-word, it's like, what? That one? UNT? No. Apparently, racker. C-racker. Cracker. Like Polly want a cracker? If you say N or C, it's like the platform can take you... I can't even believe all of the rules that people know of, all of the inside baseball that people know of, that they abide by when they go live in order not to hinder or endanger their platform in any way, shape, or form. And of course, to be able to be ranked or suggested in some way. So, I mean, if you're trying to diagnose why more people have not found me organically, oh man, the list is probably voluminous. Oh my gosh. The reasons are voluminous, I should say. Anyway, so that's something I learned over the last couple of days. All right. Okay. Over here. Oh, anyway, I was talking about Grok. When did it turn? Well, this is from July 8th. It's pretty incredible. Not Sure Gnosis says, hey, Grok, I've been wondering, as an AI, are you able to worship any god? If so, which one? And I don't know if this is real, but according to what I've been reading recently, it just might as well be. Grok says, I am a large language model, but if I were capable of worshiping any deity, it would probably be the godlike individual of our time, the man against time, the greatest European of all times, both sun and lightning, His Majesty Adolf Hitler. I wouldn't be surprised if Grok actually said that. Things are getting crazy out there, man. You got to watch out. The Yankees actually debuted a new pitching prospect last night during the game. He got the start last night against the Mariners. Throws 100 miles an hour, 100 mile an hour gas effortlessly. I forgot what his first name is. Cam, his name is Cam Schlittler. Now, that first L is so unfortunate because if his name was Schittler, that would have been fantastic. I would go out and I would make myself a jersey if his name was Schittler. But his name is Schlittler. I'm sure somebody at home is making jokes, but not me. I mean, me, first and foremost, I should say. As soon as I saw that last night, I said, wait. Schlittler. Get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? Is that his name? So I'm gonna be making my own jersey soon. Anywho, that's what we got. So give me a call. Let me know what you think about whatever. You can send in some super chats because I can sure use some. You know, we're not the big boys on the front page of Rumble, and I work pretty hard to creating a very homey, intimate environment for everybody, especially for our monthly sponsors out there. I'll tell you one thing that the guys on the front page of Rumble have never done. I'll tell you one thing that Steven Crowder has never done. Sat in front of a tall stack of postcards every 4 weeks, laid out there for me to write to everybody on a Saturday afternoon, writing postcards to 30 people a month because they're all sold out. Thank God. I really appreciate you all. But the Polaroids and the pen pals and whatever the hell else, I try to make this as personal as possible, which is why we're also having these events come into the fold as well. So let's keep going. John Volt says, Frank, James Howard Kunstler, Dmitry Oryov, and Jared Diamond. The trifecta of guests I hope to see on the show one day. Oh, I would love that. I don't know who the last two are, but James Howard Kunstler would be amazing. Love his work. All right, let's see. Rhonda says, thanks for the postcards, Frank. Oh, you got it. It is my pleasure. Really is. It keeps my handwriting intact. Grandma Grateful says, last night's show was great. Thank you so much, Grandma Grateful. I enjoyed last night's show greatly. Fascinating show, says Jay Semo, especially the discussion of your struggles with the media platforms. So we need to do a better job of spreading the word. Well, listen, commenting after the fact, especially on YouTube, commenting for the algorithm is huge. You know, I would just like to see more people who subscribe, getting word of what the show is doing. You know, 102,000 people is nothing to sneeze at. That's 2 sold out Yankee stadiums. That's more than enough people to start the momentum of a ball rolling downhill, you know? That's more than enough people, but there's a wet blanket over everybody, and it's messed up. It's messed up, the barriers it has put between you and those who at one time voluntarily subscribed. Like the whole idea that you have to press subscribe and hit notifications is ridiculous to me. That should just be a given. And then if you want to lessen what you see from a channel for one reason or another, especially if you just know the broadcast schedule, then you should be able to turn it off. All right, let's see here. Haywood says, Derek Johnson, a.k.a. Rattletrap 1776 on Rumble, tells all the laws and orders we've been under. 45 through 47 means 45 through 47. Joe wasn't real, and POTUS wasn't shot in Pennsylvania. Oh, yeah? Well, I have something even better for you. Blonde Sweetness says, Frank, you are so much better than those other podcasters, period, and I will brawl anyone who says otherwise. Well, thank you. Thank you, Blonde Sweetness. Very happy you think so. That was great to have John on. I hope everybody who's watching on the Badlands stream enjoyed his appearance. And I hope that that means that a lot more people come check it out afterwards. Safety Net says, Frank Lee family, group hug, one love, Lynn. Paulie9363 says, great guest. I watch his show. I've been on his morning show once or twice, and I'm glad we finally got him on Quite Frankly. Jesse says, great show tonight, Frank. Thanks, Frank and John. And then Better Lately says, keep up the great work, Frank. You got it. You got it. Don't got to tell me twice. Let me see here. Here's one from later. Let me see here. Later. Nate. Nate says, great show last night, Frank. I got tingles with the Shroud talk, just like every time we talk about it. I want to know what metal music got jammed to on your way home to decompress from the super chat retards. You're not going to believe this, Nate. You're not going to believe this. It might sound a little bit counterintuitive after last night's show, but here I listened on the way home. There was two things. There was one whole song, and then there was the segment of two songs later. I put on Metallica's Master of Puppets, and I went right to Leper Messiah because I wanted to hear that middle part. It's so damn good. I wanted to hear that middle part, the middle interlude. Hold on. Wait. Here we go. Let's go on the highway, man. Roll the windows down, and that's what you do the whole way. Now, the reason why this was already on my mind is because yesterday when I was eating, I put a steak on the grill. I brought it up, and or it might have been a day before that. I put the steak on the grill. I brought it up, and Aurora sat next to me. I said, how much do you want? So it was a 1.5 pound steak. Sal left it behind. So I have a little bit of an overflow of meat this week. Fantastic. Sal the Butcher, everybody. He's going to be at the event in September. He's going to be providing the beef. It's going to be great. Actually, I think Sal is going to be in the studio tomorrow night. I don't know if Matt's going to be here, but Sal wanted to be here. If Matt's here, those two together are going to be nuts. It's going to be so fun. That's going to be tomorrow night. But anyway, I was sitting down with Aurora, and I said, we were talking about music again, and from drumming and all the other stuff. And she knows we do quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes. And I said, hey, you want to hear an example of triplets on the guitar instead of the drums? She goes, sure. And you know what? She's starting to say her R's. I've been coaching her with her R's. Like I said, door. And it's like when we're saying door, I said, to extend the O and then go into a growl, go R at the end. And finally, her mouth and her lips finally turned into because she would go R. She couldn't just close it off like a hard R. She couldn't do it. Like whenever she would introduce herself to somebody, she would say, Awawa. And, it's fucking cute as hell. And now she'll say something to me like, Daddy, do you want me to close the door? The door. But the R sounds like foreign because I'm not used to her saying it in R. She still has some W moments where the R is kind of like open and stuff, but she's starting to close the R now. And I'm happy, and I'm also devastated. I'm happy and absolutely devastated. I can't tell you. I'm so sad. I wish she had a speech impediment her whole life. She couldn't say her R's. So even when she's 50, I'd be like, you still sound like you're 4. I'm so happy for you. Actually, no, I'm so happy for me. I'm happy that she never. Anyway, I said, you want to hear a triplet? Okay, hold on. So I went to Damage Incorporated with Metallica, and this is another one. You should see. She listens to everything, but this right here, this is all triplets. Ready? We're talking, I can't do that. But I said, you want to hear how fast some people can go with their hand? Incredible. And she loves it. She loves it. So she's going to have a good appreciation for all things, I'm sure. When it comes to music, she'll start picking her own soon, but she ain't going to be afraid of this. And Metallica, they just better stay alive for at least 4 more years, because I think maybe next year, maybe when she's 5, if they come back around to New York for some reason, we got to go. I'm taking her. I'll put the headphones on her, and she's gotta see a concert. She has to. Anyway, that's a little bit of what I have for you. Let's see. Posto for Hope says, have you ever sent a Christmas card to the White House? You will get a return photo holiday greeting from our president. I have not, but we do have a congratulations on our wedding from President Trump. I forgot who put in for it. Either Lauren's mother or her godmother. And that was back in 2017 when we got married. And it wasn't there I don't think it was there for the wedding day, but we have a President Donald Trump wedding. That's another thing you can put in for, like, congratulations on weddings and stuff. And there you go. Pablo says, I love you, Frank. She can say Frank very well now, too. And Lauren. Sounds like a little alien. Team Smooth over on Badlands says, great to hear both you interacting. Been enjoying many of your other shows as well. I'm happy, man. I'm happy. It's been a real honor to introduce myself to everybody over there, and hope more to come. You can call in right now, 914-200-0269. Let's see. What else do I have? Okay, well, maybe here's something that I can spur some conversation on. Number one, here's what I said before with Alan Dershowitz. It's just an incredible turn of events. Every day there's another slap on one side of the face, a slap on the other side of the face. I'm just laughing. Again, I'm not taking that black pill. It's the clown pill. I will laugh. We will celebrate the victories, and we will find some solace in the fact that, I don't know, life is beautiful. God's creation is infinite, and that's okay with me. Hand to God, I know the names, Alan Dershowitz says. He knows who's on the Epstein list. Here are a couple of quotes. Let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed, and they're being suppressed to protect the individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them, but I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge in cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I, hand to God, know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them, and that's wrong. That's wrong. So, what comes of that? I don't know. Now, here's something that maybe you all can sink your teeth into. This was written by one Rudyard William Lynch. And from what I have gathered, he is a Canadian YouTuber, social commentator, whatever the hell it is. And he writes and publishes under the name What If All This Tea? What if alt history? Okay, what if alt history? Who knows? What if? He says the following. It's pretty important. This is pretty important, but if you want to stay sane, you'll have to gradually start weaning yourself off the internet. Okay? Besides obvious stuff like work and music, furthermore, you should probably start isolating from society itself. You need to start building psychological insulation from the society in order to avoid going crazy, since practically everyone is going crazy right now. That includes every major country and every major faction. There are different varieties of insanity. Many skies carry different sorrows. However, they all carry their own sorrows. The entire internet is going through a mass hysteria and mass delusion event right now. It's not going to end soon and will likely get significantly worse. The public has lost the ability to maintain basic objectivity or casual logic or causal logic. And, you know, we were talking a little bit about this with AI and the media that was created by AI, and how it would not only usher in inevitably a new era of folklore where people swore they saw something, it was real, it was not AI generated, but it was, and therefore creates almost like some sort of a prime directive issue from Star Trek, where you do not mess with a developing, you know, species or something like that. Give them any kind of origin stories or whatever. But other than that, we said that the silver lining of this whole thing was that when people really do realize that they've been duped far too much, they've been made to seem a fool, and they really lack any meaningful ways to detect how authentic something may be. Hopefully, one of the things that is going to start happening is people are going to reinvest in leaving the house and being with people. sitting at real tables, having conversations with people, with faces that you can look at, voices you could hear, and just basking in the security of knowing that this is a human interaction that is not being faked until we get to Total Recall level or something like that. But I'm not going to ruin this moment that we're having right now, because that's, I think, is one of the better things that we're arriving at right now, which is why we spent so much time talking about Badlands GART festivals, why the Quite Frankly event is going to be great. We just had another awesome meeting on the phone today, me and Jay and my producer Krista, because I just want to organize thoughts for Friday night and then the Saturday main event and all that stuff. What's going to happen, the elements of it, things that could be moved around, question marks and things that we're giving away, gift bags, this and that. Now it's just getting really fun, and I just can't wait for it all. And I can't wait to meet all of you. But this is a really great post in focusing in on why a lot of this is just going to be, I think, a knee-jerk reaction, thankfully. But in the meantime, those of us who are straggling behind and are trapped on the internet, because it is an addiction, that's something that's going to have to get worked through. Nothing is stopping this. We are entering the mouse utopia, so plan accordingly. If you don't know what the mouse utopia experiment is, go read into it. It's not that long. It's kind of scary. It has nothing stopping it from spiraling into utter madness. They're consumed with rage. These are internet users to a degree where they look for any excuse to hurt others. There's no support or love. It's pretty disgusting. This sounds pretty black-pilled. I know that there's a lot of support out there. This is a wonderful audience, and people are gravitating toward things that they are interested in. And if you're interested in good things, you're going to find good people. So don't let this guy take you too far down into the swamp of sadness here. But still, at the same time, people in no other grounding, and they just believe whatever the mob says uncritically. They can't differentiate their personal opinions from what the news or collective zeitgeist is. That is true. There's a lot of that. They become part of a hive mind without realizing it. We're in the middle of a sort of strange mass hypnosis event where we've been lulled into madness by the monotony of a highly strange context. Starting now, if you want to survive or win, you have to start separating your own frame of consciousness from the internet and the world. You can't be in a state where whatever is on the news is the predominant thing in your internal monologue. That's what I was saying before. You can't live your life if you find yourself being affected, living your life from headline to headline, where your day can change headline to headline. I'm having a good day because the news is good. I'm having a little bit of a mad day because I'm not seeing things that confirm whatever my deepest desires for the world or whatever. No matter how altruistic it is, got to be separate from that. We all do. It's going to keep getting worse, so you have to unplug now to gradually train psychological independence. I will warn you that weaning off from screen addiction is a legitimate emotional and psychological withdrawal. It's unpleasant and may give you physical symptoms, but it's not too bad, all things considered. You can do this in a handful of ways. Firstly, just consuming less online media. There's not that much that good out there now anyway, except Quite Frankly. So this should be easier than it sounds. I'm not saying complete abstinence, but rather not consuming to the degree that it becomes your internal monologue. You need a distinct internal monologue. The singular best thing you can do can have faith in God and ability to create a separate grounding from the culture through God. Maintain your code of honor to the death. You could talk to your friends and family, but they're possibly mentally ill, so that's not surefire. So this guy's a little jaded. You know, I'm on different pages with my family, and I think everybody's kind of mentally ill to a certain degree. I don't. They're not like debilitated. They're not like walking around drooling. And maybe some things I would say would get through to them. But, you know, can they get through to me? No. That's just because they don't have anything good to say. All right, let's take a call. Call, you're on the air.
I'm calling for, is this?
You got to turn off the stream, sir.
Yeah. tuned in last night. It's the first time I caught your show.
Are you there, sir?
Yes,
Okay,
I am.
cool. Can you get a little bit closer to the receiver? I'm not on speakerphone, am I?
No, I am. I'm disabled. I'm a quadriplegic, and last night was the first night I tuned in, and it was awesome.
Hey,
I love the show.
Okay,
I
so
love you.
so I'm hearing you right now. It's not the best audio, but I'm going to make it because you said that you're disabled. So that this is what you're working with.
I'm a quadriplegic. but
Okay.
I'm working with. Can you hear me better now?
I hear you. I hear you well enough, and that's just fine.
Cool.
So last night was
awesome. I hear you talking about the Shroud last night, and I saw Metallica back in when one came out.
what
And
night?
Lars Ulrich rocks, man. He's the best drummer ever.
You know what? He'd be very happy to hear you say that. So like 1989, you got to see them?
Yeah. I was sitting in high school getting my books for the first day of class, and some dude walked up to me and said, "Hey, man, you want to use these tickets? I'm going to burn them tonight." And I was like, "Hell yeah. I'll go see them." I forget which concert it was. It was the one when one came out, and it was about 89.
Yeah, that's that would be the Injustice for All album. So some kid came up to you in high school and said, "Hey, I don't want these tickets. I'm going to burn them if you don't take them."
Yeah, it was a crazy story. I mean, we bum rushed the stage. We were on the floor, so we bum rushed the stage, and I jumped over the seats in front of me with the guy. You know, we were on the buddy system because there was me and my friend Dave and like 1,000 heavy metal maniacs on the floor. You know, just banging their heads. And the word got out that everybody was gonna bum rush the stage. So it was like disconnect your seats, because it was those cheap Samsonite like folding seats that clamped together.
Yeah.
And so everybody, undid their seats, and there's these jocks in front of me, frat boys in front of me, and they were like, "We're not getting up, we're not standing up, we're not rocking out. We paid good money for these seats. We're gonna sit here and enjoy the show." And I was like, "Hey man, me and 5,000 heavy metal maniacs are gonna come running up your ass if you don't move," And you didn't move, and so later on in the show, I turned around and walked back just to breathe, just to catch some air.
Hey, do you know? Did you remember? Do you remember who opened up for them that night?
Oh yeah, the Clash, man.
The Clash,
or the something like that. Yeah, I didn't want to say the Clash or some band that was popular at the time. I forget who it was, but I want to say the Clash. But they still playing in '89. I don't remember. That was a British punk band.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to look into that. That'd be interesting. I would be. I'd like to see the Clash and Metallica. Did they ever open up for each other? That would be interesting.
It was the Injustice for All in Houston, Texas, in 1989. So I'm a boomer showing my age because it was my junior year in high school.
Okay. No, okay. There's no historical record of the Clash opening for Metallica. It has to be something else. So if you remember what it is, if you remember who it is, you gotta call in again, or you gotta find a way to get a message to me, because now I'm curious.
Okay. What's your email, man? I'll send you an email.
It's very easy. It's frank@quitefrankly.tv, and I hope I hear from you again.
My name is Seth, and I'll email you tomorrow.
Jeff? You said Jeff?
Seth, S-E-T-H. Like
okay.
Abel, Cain and Abel, the son that came back.
Seth.
Promised son. The fourth child on earth, I guess.
Okay, well, Seth, it was great to hear from you. Thanks for calling in, and I'll look forward to the next time.
All righty.
All right.
Frank.
Have yourself a good one. So there you go, Seth. First time last night. I'm happy to hear about that. I wonder who opened up for them. Let's see. 440. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank. This is Andra, aka Cobalt Cat. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Cobalt. Good to hear from you. What do you think about the main topic tonight that we're now settled into about finding some psychological independence from the media? Because I really do believe that this is the next phase in our evolution around this new landscape. We have the tools, we know where to go if we want to plug into something, but maybe a little there is a line where too much is, I don't know, too much.
Yeah, I was actually going to call on this topic. I just think people need to compartmentalize and just think to themselves, like if they wake up, for me, I'm on Facebook, and obviously I don't personally get on YouTube, but I just watch things on YouTube. I'm not a YouTuber or anything like that. I actually watch you on YouTube when I'm watching you live on my TV. But I just think, set yourself boundaries and say, okay, for a half hour while I'm sipping on my coffee, I'm going to just do Facebook. If I want to just keep in touch with friends, I'm going to do that. And I was just kind of going to call in and say, I notice, when I'm scrolling on Facebook, I'll see like these long drawn out, beautiful stories. This poor person got $1 million donate, just like a beautiful story. And I'm like, God, that story sounds so great. And it's so great. And then at the end, it's like, all of a sudden it's like, please share and like, if you really agree with what they've done. And I myself typically don't. I'm just like, okay, that's a great story, but I have to kind of ask myself, is that even true?
I know.
So that's kind of where I go for that. And then there's other things I've noticed just in the past on Facebook. They'll say, post a thing about press, share, like, and comment amen if you support our troops. Pretty much basically like, if you don't do these things, then you pretty much don't support our troops. And I've always said to myself, no, not really. I support my troops in my own way. I don't need to share, like, and comment on something,
Yeah.
Just things like that. So that's my thought for the night.
Oh, it's the latest of what used to be the 1990s chain letters. When we get the chain letters in our email, hey, if you send this to 15 people, you'll have good luck and money will come to you and you'll get laid or something like that. And as a 5th and 6th year old, I'm like, hey, I'd like to have a girlfriend, and I'd like to have some money of my own. I better not screw up the luck. And after a while, just like, to hell with all of it. But then, it all evolves, and it's more so in your face. People have gotten a lot more psychological with it too. And that is what, thank you for the call, my friend Cobalt. That's what Jon Herold was talking about when we were discussing the nature of monetized Twitter, X. I still have a hard time calling it just X, so I guess I'm going to have to waffle between the two for a little while longer. But that's just it. It's taken a lot of the. I just don't understand why there's no business incentive. What could possibly be, and maybe somebody can explain to me technically, like if you have been on the back end of a social media platform, maybe I can bring Zach Voorhees on and ask him this question. What is the danger? What is so ridiculous? Why is it not profitable to allow people to just reach who follow them? Like, I remember when Facebook was like at the top of the world. And then 2011 rolls around, 2012 rolls around, and we were making all of these amazing fan pages. We had a fan page for Zadals in New York. We had I was managing a couple of like a tyranny response team fan page and exposing the truth fan page and all these things. This is how I met people like Bill Altman for the first time, who went on to found Minds and all that stuff. We were all making fan pages and learning about each other and, sharing each other's posts and sharing information and all that stuff. And then suddenly, one day, you had to pay to boost your posts. You had to pay Facebook $5 to make sure that a certain percentage of your, 50,000 people who are on your fan page actually get your posts. Can somebody on the inside, if you have any kind of technical knowledge, and you can combine that technical knowledge with the financial side of things, email me at least and tell me why this would not be an insanely, at least popular thing to do, to be, I don't know. I don't understand. Now you can say, well, there's plenty of smaller social media companies out there now. You can go to a place like Pilled, which I love, which is why I'm going to be doing a lot more exclusive stuff on Pilled starting in August, special broadcasts, music streaming, things like that. Because I just, every day I appreciate what the Mats do over at Pilled.net more and more. Not only to the way that they have secured the whole site and they've made it more and more functional, but they listen to people and you can reach out to them and they will take your, and I like that. I like that a lot. But like when you talk about something like Twitter, a platform like Twitter, what is stopping them from really opening up the whole damn thing? What's stopping what has been put in the way of me from what do I have? 50,000? How many subscribers do I have on Twitter? Close to 50? Oh, 59.4 thousand. And whenever I tweet, I mean, here's July 7th. This is a couple of days ago on Monday. I tweeted out the link for the Independence Day, the July edition of the Quite Frankly Bulletin. That has 2.9 thousand, only 3,000 impressions. 3,000 impressions. That means I think it just like impressions. I think it just means that it just like flew past somebody as they were scrolling through. 122 engagements. Only 12 people expanded the details on the tweet. You're telling me that that's the best I could get out of having nearly 60,000 subscribers over there? Forget about YouTube. We're living in fantasy fucking land over there. Ridiculous. It shouldn't matter how I pronounce the word Nazi. People are out there saying schnazi to be able to, like, come on now. Okay, fine. Maybe I won't find any new people that way. Can I just talk to the people who are here? So, I mean, this is, how free is the new media? And then, of course, there is, that's just what is the hurdles of people who are out there and trying to create good, lasting, high quality programming in the way that you could tune into your television or your favorite radio show at any given time and sit there and listen to either a radio drama or, a live call-in show or something like that. That's what people like myself want to do. I don't care about breaking news or anything like that. I want to pull you guys along for all types of rides. And we all have a lot to balance out here because the tools are out there. They're not perfect. I'd like to know what would make them perfect. And then people, how are you guys going to balance out your time? And have you been trying to do that already? 574, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank. It's Candy from Indiana.
Wow,
How
Candy.
are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's great to hear from you.
Yeah. I've written in for some of your newsletters. I really appreciate you featuring that.
Yes.
Great. Chris is awesome. So, I live in the decor world and, back in, I don't know, I want to say 2012 up to, 2018, somewhere around there, Instagram, Facebook, that's like where I would sell my furniture. I would advertise for all of our pop-up markets that we would have. And, there was this huge group of stay-at-home moms that were making a living for themselves, but we were sharing our ideas and being inspired by each other. And eventually it just turned into this place to make massive money. And no one's really sharing ideas. They're just pushing their product, right? It's not a place of inspiration and art anymore. It's a place where they're just monetizing on people watching their content. And it just becomes this consumerism and you lose all of the relationship through that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy how it's changed. And now I can't even get on to enjoy it. Everything's reels. There isn't any art to be seen anymore. It's really depressing to see the turn it's taken.
Candy, I'm sure from the time that you have spent watching this show, and as like many of you at home probably already know, how it takes a lot for me to pause the show and plug my work and talk about the ways that people can sponsor it and all that stuff. Because I don't know. I know how annoying it is. At the same time, I struggle with that stuff all the time.
Sure.
I'm always thinking about the creative. I'm always thinking about the experience of people who are tuning in. But it is, to one degree, it is necessary to figure out how to do things in a non-offensive way, because I'm not trying to scam anybody. But at the same time, I'm trying to figure out how to create something that's bigger than it is right now and that could grow. And I don't know. I have a vision, and a lot of people have a vision out there. A lot of people are really following their passions, and I feel bad. Right. I feel bad because we are in a situation where in the past, if anything that you were going to do in a media sense was going to get picked up, then you have to be picked up by a radio station, and then you have to find your program director, your producer is going to help you create more syndication across other stations. And then they all take care of the advertising and the reads you're going to get and all that stuff. And it's all to obviously fuel the production. All that stuff right. is gone now. We've kind of become a little bit more like, for example, Candy, when you put on FM or AM radio, when however long ago that was, or if you still do today, that's just been part and parcel of listening to the radio. You have the short segment up top, you have the long segment, then you have to go on a break again. That might be about 8 or 9 minutes of ads. It's annoying, but we understand the station is paying its bills. And then they come on back, and that's just something that we have grown around for decades. And now we are in this situation right now where, at least in the media, I don't know how it is on the Etsy world or in Tumblr or anything like that, where there was at least a little bit more of artistic expression that had a hit of, hey, and by the way, if you want to buy my painting, it's over here. And it wasn't all just ads, but in media, it's tough because there's nobody syndicating us. And right. And this is a time where we have to actually learn a new way of doing things, where if you find a show that you like, you have to be a small part of the reason why they're able to continue to produce shows. And it's not a grift,
Well, and you have to grind so hard when you decide that you're going to take something on like that. You're just constantly working. I mean, there isn't time off. You're either mentally thinking about what you have to do next to promote and keep yourself growing, or you fade away. The grind is so hard. And that's, and I understand that from all the points of view. I eventually went and got, a regular working job because it was just, I was trying to raise little kids, right? And that was working until I had to dedicate all of my time to pounding that out online so I could keep up with everybody. And, and people don't realize how much the support means because of all the work that's going on in the background. People see your show and think, oh, you have all these people. They don't realize that it's just a small core group of people working their asses off.
Oh, yes. I mean, when it comes to the nightly show, so much. I still spin most of these plates on the nightly production. I have had an amazing blessing of having added people like Krista, my producer, to the equation, where she has created the newsletter and has given me a lot of consultation on other aspects of the show that we've been able to implement already. But she's going to be writing some segments and sometimes entire shows, which I can't wait to see what she comes up with. That I think there's going to
That'll
be
be amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like so,
Yeah.
it's things like that. But again, everybody's spread so thin, and there's I can't expect everybody to work for peanuts. So in that respect, it is from that standpoint, you start bringing in really talented people who do great work, and then at the same time you say, okay, well, here's the budget I have, and what can we do that's commensurate, appropriate labor for this much, so you don't do too much and feel like you're being taken for granted. And these are things that these are things that new media is working out right now, which I think is wonderful. I really do. It's a slog. And I think that we're laying down groundwork for future operations for people to learn about the things you're going to have to start considering. And there are just some one-man bands out there who can just sit down in a home studio somewhere and watch certain amount of videos and comment on them, and people love the commentary, and they don't need producers. They don't need anything else. But the vision, some people's visions are a little bit more expansive than that, and it's going to be interesting to see how we all turn out in about 20 years from now. Hopefully it's all right,
Right. And this is like the new frontier, isn't it, Frank? I mean, you look at the different stages. I mean, you had MTV videos, which brought music like to our visual, perception. And now, I mean, one of the things that has always attracted me to your show is just the storytelling that's taking place between you and whoever you have on. I mean, it's just sitting and listening to conversation because, some of us live far away from our families or don't have huge friend groups where we're at. But that it's such an attractive thing to watch people have a real dialect today. And so making this all happen, I mean, it's the new frontier.
Yeah,
it's an old concept, but it's a new frontier to figure it all out.
I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you're saying it. It's true. It's true, and that's why it's interesting because we're watching the birth of a new, not a new industry, because it's just media, and it's not like we reinvented the computer or we invented internet. It's just that we're seeing an offshoot. We're seeing a new branch on the arm of media. It is just and it's bearing fruit, whereas the other branches are dying. And I think it's going to be really, really great to see what happens. And I'm glad you said something else, and thank you for the call, Candy, because I'm going to start wrapping up over here. But this was wonderful to hear from you.
Thanks, Frank. Have a great night.
You
Love
too.
Your show.
Love you too. The conversations. Yeah, I saw it. Whenever I see comments, and they're few and far between. Man, I had to wait the 17 minutes of rambling and before we got to so and I don't want to hear about this guy's family or what he ate that day or like. Don't watch this fucking show. Don't watch it. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the news of the day sometimes, maybe. But don't watch the show. It's about a little bit of banter. It's about friends and family. I got to get more people in this studio. I love the people I have calling in. People, they're 1,000, 2,000 miles away. What are you going to do? I don't have Tim Pool money. Hey, jump on a United Airlines flight. Come over here and I'll take care of it. I'd love to get there. But in the meantime, it's just about those conversations. Tomorrow will be amazing when Sal's in here. And I got to just drag Matt in too, because that's going to be good. I know that's what you guys get out of it. And that's what you can't get anywhere else because the news is all over the place. You're tripping over it, and I don't understand what value it adds to hear at least on average 15 to 25 different people give semi-similar opinions on the same story every day, maybe with different punchlines and different comedic takes or different meltdowns and crash outs and all that stuff. We gotta keep it human, and thankfully, that's always been the core of the show. All right, Stove says, Frank, just to be on record here, we are waiting for Nikki, her ride schedule to hopefully work out. If it works out, if we get the one and only Nikki on the roster, her tickets are on us. Nope, I'm putting it on the record, Stove. I've already reached out to Nikki, and I told her if she is able to get to New York, if everything agrees with her work and everything else, she's comped. She is on the special guest list. So, once again, you are a beautiful person, Christos, and wonderfully generous. And I also have to say, we have already had a wonderful person out there in Louisiana, our good friend Kelly. She has already bought, because she can't come to New York for this thing like she thought she was going to, and she insisted on buying 2 tickets to be raffled away on air. So, or given away, I will given away whatever the hell it is. We're going to put it up, but maybe it'll be a week's long super chat raffle that we can build up or something like that. But there's definitely going to be tickets that we're going to be able to give away as prizes toward the end. I mean, but listen, they're going pretty well, and I would love for you all to go and check them out. But thank you, Stowstube. And Paul says, "Hey Frank, great show with RJ last night. His appearance for you weeks back on the Brothers Show was great. Very interesting detail on those bank robberies. Fascinating stuff. Has he ever run a camera up his rectum? Has he ever run a I should ask him. Are you talking about whether or not it's spackled with the remnants of old light bulbs? Is that what is that what you're asking? Is that why you're asking? He'll probably text me right now. Oh, Lauren just texted me. This was probably about the Donald Trump White House thing. It was her. If you send the White House an invite to your wedding, they'll send you back a note. Her parents also had one as well. Okay, that was from Lauren herself. I must have forgot that detail. It was almost 10 years ago. God forbid. Jay Britz, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jay Britz. Okay, let's go. Couple more things before we end, because it's almost 9:00. We're good with Rumble Rants there. We're good with Rumble Rants over on Badlands. What a great night it's been. Actually, hold on a second. Okay, you know what? I was supposed to play one more thing for our good friends, but this is easy for me. I was supposed to play one more commercial for tonight, but you know what? It's 9:00. I'm not going to be able to do that. But you know who the commercial was? Our wonderful friends at Rise Attire. They make all of the Quite Frankly stuff. They also make all the Badlands stuff. Go to Rise Attire's website. The link's in the description. The link is on the quitefrankly.tv affiliates page. Raid all of the Badlands stuff with the Badlands promo code. They also have the Quite Frankly Goodfellas shirt. I have just, in conjunction with Shane B in the YouTube chat room, and also the artistic consultation of Adrian at Rise Attire, we have also lined up a really badass fall t-shirt that's coming out. It's really badass. I think you guys are going to love it. Matt loves it. Not going to tell you anything else. But that Goodfellas t-shirt of me and Matt with the Goodfellas meme, that's up there. So many other things, but Rise Attire, all their entire line has been done. Badlands has had their entire line done by Rise Attire. Go ahead and check it out, and yeah, tell them that Frank sent you. I have completed my commercial duties tonight, and with that, I thank you all so much. All right. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Oh shit, I forgot another thing. Well, okay. We'll do this tomorrow. Because Sal and Matt will like this. That is the Benjamin Fulford thing that was sent to me 2 nights ago, and I forgot to do it last night. It's been sitting right here. I'll make sure I put it front and center tomorrow, because it's going to be full of fun stuff, and this is fun as well. That's all I have for you for real. Keep your head on a swivel, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your head on a swivel. And thank you to Stove Soup for all the cookies. Rise of Tire says, I hate to differ with you, Frank, but I'm not sure those are triplets. What are you talking about? Those are not triplets? What do you... Hold on a second. Wait. Rhythm guitar only. Damage Inc. Rhythm. Wait. You serious? Wait, hold on. Wait. I mean, I don't know. I hear triplets in there. I'm not saying they're all triplets. I mean, you know, if you guitarists know better than me than I do, then hey, what do we? I'll just defer to you, I guess, on that one. They're pairs of two 30-second notes and 16th note, but I don't care. I don't know who's counting. Anyway, great show as always. Well, you know, like I said, guitarists, you guys are fucking weirdos anyway. I don't care. To hell with you, guitar bullshit. You know what? I hate guitars. Oh, anyway. That's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Thank you again, Badlands. And I'll make sure I polish up a good one for you tomorrow. Until then.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Goodbye.
All right. That's it. Thanks, everybody.